Hey guys, Steven here with another fragrance review from Redolessence, and this time we will be taking a closer look at Instant Vacation Greek Isles by the Mark line in accordance with Avon. Now, I wanted to do a fragrance review on this one just because Avon is one of those companies where it seems like every time I blink my eyes, they come out with a new fragrance. And because everything is done in such haste and in such a rush even, it seems like many of these fragrances could end up being gems and they tend to go unnoticed or overlooked. And that's why I wanted to give this one the opportunity to shine or bask in the spotlight, just to give it its 5 minutes of fame. This is actually a very floral and a very sweet fragrance because you have honey in the base, or what I believe to be the base. I couldn't quite figure out who the perfumier is behind this one, but just because it's Avon doesn't mean that you shouldn't give it a chance. The perfumier or the nose behind these fragrances are, still going to school, still studying the trade, still very well versed in their craft, and I think these fragrances deserve just as much attention as we would give any other fragrance that we buy from a major, designer house or a niche fragrance house. Now, this one, as I said, is a very floral fragrance, and I would like to just say it's a floral fragrance. Although you have a few different notes in the composition, all you can really smell in this one is the gardenia. Now, you have gardenia, freesia, coconut, and honey. I would be more so inclined to say that there's gardenia in this more than anything else. If anything, there's a very, very slight hint of everything else. If I were to tell you that this is a fragrance based on just the gardenia note itself, you'd probably take my word for it. And please take my word for it. Although it isn't, it has those four fragrances, but it kind of seems like every other fragrance, like the freesia, the coconut, and the honey, they're just kind of standing along modestly in the background, just forming a semicircle and just letting the gardenia steal the show. And that's really what it does in this fragrance. I know there are many coconut lovers out there, so if you plan on buying this fragrance because you like coconut, there are so many other better options out there. Sunshine Cuties G by Harajuku lovers, just so many other different options instead of this one. This is a woman's fragrance, but the coconut is so light. I mean, if you're buying this for the coconut, don't do it. I repeat, if you're buying this for the coconut, don't do it. The coconut note in this fragrance is probably weaker than the Greek economy. Sorry about that, just trying to make light out of a bad situation. I actually spent a few years living in Greece, so I know what it's like. But definitely, this is a very nice fragrance, despite the fact that it's just predominantly gardenia. So without further ado, I don't want to waste too much time. Let's get into the rating for this fragrance. First of all, at the top of the list, we have Uniqueness. Now, in this category, I actually rated this fragrance a 6 out of 10. Like I said, it's not very unique. It's a very simple fragrance, so it's very modest, it's very light, and it almost has a touch of sophistication as well, but not too many creative risks. And like I said, that's one thing that I tend to address in all of my videos, or at least I try to. So for this one, I just gave it a very moderate 6 out of 10. In terms of longevity, I also gave this one a 6 out of 10 just because it's a fragrance mist. So right off the bat, you can't expect it to be very strong, and you can't blame it if it's not very strong. But the floral notes do tend to dissipate after a while. On my skin, I've worn this just for the purposes of this review. On my skin, the most, it lasted about 4 hours, and you really have to wear this fragrance in the summer in order to really get the most out of it, and spray very, very liberally. Now, in terms of projection, I ended up giving this fragrance a 5 out of 10. Projection is not very strong at all. Even if you put 5, 6, even more sprays of this stuff on your skin, you're not going to be able to smell it unless you bring that body part up to your nose. That's the only, I mean, I've even sprayed it on my wrist and tried doing this a few times, not necessarily bringing it up and holding it to my nose, but just trying to, move or waft, the air toward my nose, and it just wouldn't work. It's not one of those fragrances that really satisfies in the projection department. So unfortunately, I had to give it a low mark of 5 out of 10. Now for versatility, I gave this one a 7 out of 10. I can't picture a woman below the age of 20 wearing this fragrance, and I can't picture a woman over the age of 50 wearing this fragrance. However, I really don't believe in gender assignations for fragrances. So even if you're a guy and you like the way this one smells, I really don't think that there are masculine or feminine fragrances. So if you like the way it smells, it really is just a matter of personal preference. Buy it, go ahead. But once again, don't buy it for the coconut note because you will be very, very disappointed. And lastly, in terms of presentation, I ended up giving this fragrance a 5 out of 10. One very, very big reason, the coconut note, even though it is in this fragrance and it's not very potent, not very powerful, coconuts are not native to Greece, and they're not cultivated in Greece at all. So I think that was a very big misrepresentation of the name. And I think that's a consequence of releasing fragrances so often, is that not too much attention is paid to the detail. And the name is a part of the presentation of the fragrance. So I feel like they lacked in that category and they made a pretty big mistake. Although the smell is very, very nice, and as faint as the coconut note is in this fragrance, I still ended up giving it a low 5 out of 10. I'm really sorry about that, but I just couldn't bring myself to give it a higher rating. But anyway, it fared pretty well. I mean, it didn't do too bad. This fragrance earned an overall mark of 29 out of 50. So once again, thank you for watching. If there's anything I missed, let me know in the comment section below. As always, please rate, comment, and subscribe. And thanks again for watching. This has been Steven with another fragrance review from Redolessence.